Good morning. This is Devon Glover, also known as the Sonnet Man, and I just completed the wonderful tour through the AOCs of Morocco, Tangier, Tetuan, Meknes, Fez, Mohammedia, Marrakesh, Kenitra, Casablanca, and Rabat. It was a surreal experience, and I hope to uh, enjoy this again. I was so happy that I was able to share my work with the wonderful students of Morocco. I had so many highlights. It was a culture shock in a good way. I kind of fell in love with Morocco after being here for 2 weeks. Uh, a couple of the highlights that will always stick to me is being able to find local talent through every center. There's so many great writers and so many great poets that were able to show me their untapped potential, whether we were doing workshops or we were doing jam sessions with students that were so open to share their work. It was an amazing experience. They taught me some of their language. I was able to teach them some of my language. It was very it was very surreal to me. I must say, the best student interaction I may have is in Tetuan. I was working with students who were, I guess, low level in terms of their understanding of English, and I needed an interpreter at first, but the students were so open and willing to learn Shakespeare, and they even shared some of their work when at first they didn't even understand, my New York lingo and how fast I was speaking, and the fact that they they actually searched for me on Facebook and other social networks to thank me and to ask me questions and advice on how to learn English. It's something that I would like to show the students of the United States, just the wonderful culture here. And I feel like I created a bond with so many students in Morocco to the point that I feel like we're family here. Again, I fell in love with Morocco, visiting these wonderful, enjoying the culture and visiting these wonderful centers where the teachers, they do a great job in helping these students with their language, and the students are very open to new things. Shakespeare is another language in itself, even though I understand his words. It's still foreign, and they were open to listening to Shakespeare in an innovative way in poetry and hip hop, and then they shared their work with me. The most, if I had to choose interaction of out of all of the out of all of the wonderful moments, I must say my first day when I was in Casablanca, I was introduced to some students from actually the person who helped set this up, Sonia Cook. She introduced me to some wonderful students, and we were sitting in a cafe, talking about hip hop, and I just felt like I was, they were so open to get some knowledge from me about just music, the U.S. and how can they better themselves as a writer or poet. And after I just met them, we wound up after 30 minutes or 40 minutes of speaking from just meeting, we wound up doing a jam session and wound up doing basically a performance for the students that were coming in and out of the cafe. I met some incredible talent, and I hope that some of the centers, some of the talent from the different centers actually link up and try to collaborate, because there's like some untapped potential here. Another highlight that I must say is throughout the workshops that I provided. Good morning. This is Devon Glover, also known as the Sonnet Man, and I'm about to head home from this wonderful tour throughout the AOCs of Morocco. There were too many highlights for me to even try to filter out my best highlight. So if I had to choose one of my favorite highlights, I had to choose. There was one that was actually recurring. When I was doing these performances at several of these centers, after the performance, I guess I inspired these students to actually come up on a stage and showcase their talent to their fellow peers and teachers. I must tell you guys there is a lot of talent throughout these centers in terms of rappers, singers, poetry writers, and I hope that you guys find a way to get together and create a wonderful project because you guys blew me away, and my Sonnet Man shows, my solo Sonnet Man shows actually turned into group jam sessions. So thank you for showcasing your talent and sharing the stage with me. It was amazing. The most unforgettable student interactions I had was in Tetuan. I was working with students where their level of English was below average. So there were at first, I needed an interpreter and I had to speak a little slower. My New York accent. I had to speak a little slower for them. But towards the end of the show, we began, trading off words in terms of like they would teach me phrases and words in Morocco that I could use throughout my travels, and then I was teaching them some words and different phrases that I use. And after I left, they actually began reaching out to me on social media and asking me questions and asking for tips about how can they better their English or how can they better their poetry writing. So I want to thank all the students that have reached out to me. I feel like, we're family. I feel like we made this great bond. And I hope, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You guys are amazing. And I would like to give out the biggest hug to Sonia Cook. Thank you for setting this up. This is actually the best prepared tour I've ever had. You sent me to centers, you sent me to different places, and actually gave me time to visit the cities and take in the culture. And you were kind of like my parent. I definitely was dependent on you, but I really didn't need to call you for anything because you definitely set this up, perfect. And I want to thank you for even inviting me to, showcase my work and my talent to these students. And I hope I'm able to, come again and visit these students again. I hope the Be Our Guest tour, keeps going because I think this is a amazing experience for the students. So thank you again for setting this up, and I'm so happy that we got in contact. I wish we were able to, hang out, but I know you do your work. You're about the students, so I appreciate that, especially coming from a teacher. So hopefully the next artists that bands that you bring to showcase to these students have such a wonderful time like I do. Please keep in touch. I love you all. Cheers.